Hello and welcome to Be Powerful with Liz and Lee. It's a new day and we're so glad you're here.
So you can expect to hear candid conversations on what it means to be powerful. Live authentically, live in the midst of ups and downs, productively, and above all else, joyfully.
We are so thankful for you, our community of listeners, and we hope you enjoy today's show.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm going to introduce today. I'm so excited. We have a guest.
Special guest.
A very special guest. I'd like to welcome Vani Hari. She is the author of the latest best-selling book called Food Babe Family, which is right here. And we're really excited because we're actually going to start carrying some of her products in the studio. But let me start with this because I wanted to intro her properly in the Hilliard Studio method / Liz Hilliard / Lee Kennelly way. Besides being a New York Times bestseller and also being the co-founder of an organic food company called Truvani, she's also one of the most influential people on the internet, according to Time Magazine. But before we get going and before I let her just go at it and Lee go at it, I just want to say how proud I am to be your friend and how of all the people that I have known, the Be Powerful part of our whole podcast is about being true to yourself. And in Vani's case, I believe, being true to caring about other people and health. She could have found all this research out herself, but she makes sure everybody, as in the Food Babe Army, which you talk about, not only knows it, but has made a cultural change, I believe, in the way we look at food, the way we look at nutrition and health, which goes hand in hand with all of the things all three of us do. And I'm lucky enough to be your friend. She's lucky enough to come to our studio to work out every single week. Every single week. Don't miss a session. So anyway, welcome, Vani. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, well, that is such a warm welcome. I feel like tearing up because I've known you for so long and you've been with me from the start, the very start of it all. And I'll never forget you flying all the way to New York City to be at my first book launch. And now this is my fourth book.
Oh, it is your fourth?
It's my fourth book.
Whoa, time out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And it's so cool. And I love you both so much. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's our pleasure. It's our
Yes.
pleasure. And we're excited. This is coming out on Thursday. Same day you're going to be in the studio. We've pre-ordered books for our clients and you'll have them there signing and giving samples. So we're celebrating you and all your success. So thanks for being here with us today.
Yes. Yes. So, all right. Well,
All right.
let's get started.
Okay, where do we begin? Give us the summary of this book, why you did it, how we got here, what's the goal. We've both seen it, but
Yes.
let's give us a rundown.
So, when I became pregnant and I started having kids, which by the way, I think there's like something in the water when you go work out at Hilliard Studio Method because
You just get pregnant?
you
Is that
just
what you're
get
saying?
pregnant. But I would see all of these beautiful pregnant women in class that were still fit and working out, and like they were such an inspiration to me. And I was like, okay, I can do this because me and my husband, we waited for 11 or 12 years before we had kids. And I thought for the longest time, I wasn't even sure I wanted to have kids.
These are all good questions.
And so I basically was like in this environment where you were so nurturing and so open to mothers. And like, it just really inspired me to become a mom. You were one of the inspirations of that. Like just being in the studio and seeing all the pregnant women work out. It's not full of pregnant women, but it's like, pregnant women can modify it, which was
Correct.
so cool. So, but I just remember that moment, just feeling that way at the time and knowing that like, I can still work out. I can still do all this stuff. Look at these women. Like it just empowered me to be like, okay, if I have a child, it's not going to change my life that much, right?
I love that.
Well, little did I know that it was going to change every fucking thing.
Sorry.
No, don't
Sorry,
worry.
beep.
We do this.
We keep it all in.
all the time.
It was
All
going
in.
to change everything, right? And when I became a mom, I started to just become really soft in a way. Like, I was a hardcore activist. I was going to headquarters of some of the biggest corporations in the world, billion-dollar corporations, knocking on their doors, delivering petitions, demanding change, Not to mention all of the death threats and the crazy thing
yeah.
that was happening online to
That's
try to get me
bizarre.
to stop. Right?
Well, I mean, but what? Death threats? Why
Yeah.
death threats?
Well,
You're
I mean, they were
to-
trying to do whatever they could to stop me because
My God.
these
Money in their
companies,
pockets.
yes,
Well,
these
you wouldn't have
companies
to-
were losing billions of dollars, to change their ingredients, to change their products, and I mean, I can't tell you how many companies have changed as a result of this widespread awareness of what's in our food, and together with people like you who share this information and are teaching other people to eat real food and understand the chemicals in their food and to start to make these changes in their own lives and at the grocery store when they are purchasing their products and all of that. So I realized that I wanted to raise my children a way that they knew the truth about food. And so from the moment my daughter was little, and I remember I took her on a business trip and she was playing with all those little packages at the bottom of the convenience store at the airport.
Right where they put it, right for the
They were
kids.
putting Lucky Charms
Right for the
there.
bottom, yeah.
Yeah, like little boxes of Lucky Charms and Frosted Flakes, and then the cartoon characters that definitely caught her eye. And then she was playing with the Skittles and the Snickers, and I just said to myself at that moment, I'm just going to tell her the truth about this food right here and now. She was 10 months old, but I knew she wasn't going to understand these chemicals or understand what any of this meant. But I was like,
Start early.
start early. They say that kids between 0 and 7
Right. I read that in your book.
the most influenced by everything that you do. And so like if you just teach them the truth from the very beginning, they're going to be the best generation of eaters. They're going to know the truth about these chemicals. They're going to know to look at ingredient lists and not read the front of the package and all of the marketing.
Right.
They're not going to believe the cartoon characters. They're trying to sell them the food.
You bring that up in this book in the very beginning. If you guys, I know you say in the beginning, you don't have to read through this book, and I did not, but I did read those first few pages, and you have done the recon for all of us. That is the point. Not every mom, you make a point, not any mom who's got time to just know every single ingredient of every single thing. So you've done the hard work for them. Now all they've got to do is go into the store and go, oh, I'm not going to go where, what is it, the shark thing? You're really on this shark thing.
Baby Shark.
Baby
yes.
Shark. It's all over. Is it General Mills?
Yeah, it's Kellogg's. Yeah.
Kellogg's. I knew it was one of them. Good luck, Kellogg's. Seriously.
So let's talk about Kellogg's.
Okay, great.
Let's just go right to
We don't
them.
hold back
okay,
here.
so in 2015, I started a petition to ask them to remove artificial food dyes in BHT. BHT is an endocrine disrupting chemical that they line the bags of the cereal with as a preservative.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay, they don't allow this in Japan. They don't allow this in Europe. They don't allow this in many other countries because of the problems that it has with your immune system and your endocrine system. So, but here in the United States, they do. So I made a point to show that Kellogg's overseas, they reformulated all of their products without artificial food dyes and BHT. Because if they use artificial food dyes in Europe, it has a warning label that says may cause adverse effects on activity and attention in children. So it causes hyperactivity in children.
And we wonder why everybody's got a whatever, all kinds of trouble mentally and physically and all that, ADHD and all that.
So in order to avoid the warning label, they figured out how to make their cereals taste the same without the harmful chemicals.
Okay.
And I felt like that
Seems
was
a bit easy to share.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the fact that it's completely unethical, in my opinion, and hypocritical that they serve us Americans the worst ingredients and then have figured out how to make their products better and safer overseas. So I started a petition. They said they would do it. And they said they would do it by 2018. Well, they didn't do it. Nobody following up with them in terms of a regulatory agency like the FDA or anyone like the media. Goodness gracious, the media, like, hello, like follow up on these stories. See if these companies actually tell you what they're going to do, because they got so much praise for making this announcement all over headlines everywhere, but then it never happened. I mean, even General Mills, they decided to take out artificial food dyes out of Trix and then they put it back.
What?
No.
Why? I mean, but why?
Yeah, because it's
Really?
cheaper.
Why?
It's
wow.
cheaper
Got
and
it.
it lasts on the shelf
so
longer.
we have an FDA. Why?
Exactly. Well,
I mean, what?
there's this underlying
No regulatory?
Yeah, there's this underlying assumption that the FDA tests all of our food and regulates all of these chemicals that are in our food. But there's over 3,000 chemicals right now in our food supply that the FDA has never, ever
Even touched.
looked at. And the safety data that they're looking at is given to them by the companies
I was just
creating
going to say,
Sure.
who's paying their bills?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I got it.
So they're
So-
looking at safety data
Big
presented
food,
by these
right.
companies, and then they're signing off on it. And that's how it ends up in our food.
Okay.
And until someone sues the FDA, like a third party nonprofit organization or someone
Okay.
with a lot of money, right?
Mhm.
And or someone like me that says, these chemicals aren't right. Like we're not using these overseas. Can cause harm. These things don't change. And so Kellogg's has gotten away, I think, with murder because they not only didn't do this, but they started creating new cereals that are more hip to children today, like Baby Shark.
Right.
Everybody knows the Baby Shark
Yeah.
song,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? And unicorn cereal and things
Right.
like that, which grab the attention of people today. And so they're trying to create a new generation of kids hooked on their garbage. And to me, that's just really
It's criminal.
disheartening. Yeah.
That's criminal.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, kids are sick. They're sick with all kinds of things. We've got a higher rate of autism. We've
Right.
got a higher, it's doubled like in the last few years. Children with cancer. I personally experienced that in my family. These and children are putting this stuff in their body, whereas my generation didn't have this.
Right.
Now we had some,
Sure.
but it's getting more and more. So
When was the flip,
right.
towards such commercialized poisoned food? Like what year did all of this kind of translate?
I mean, it's been about 50 to 60 years
Yeah.
now
Okay.
ago.
So when I was
it's-
eating cornflakes, I was eating all these bad things.
No, you
When I was
probably
7 or
weren't.
8?
No,
Okay.
you were starting to get it.
Okay.
You were
Okay.
starting to get it. I mean, I would think cornflakes was really bad when GMOs were approved in the 80s, in the early
Yep.
80s. So within the last 40 years is probably the worst in
Okay.
terms of the type of chemicals.
Like our
we're
entire
being
life.
exposed to. Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Completely
yes.
like,
Yes.
Okay. So just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate. And it's why we're seeing so many women in their 40s die of cancer. Right.
Right.
I mean,
And
it's
I've had
such an
so many
easy.
friends. I know we just all had a friend
Yes.
that died, and
Oh,
it's just, it's so sad. And so this is what moves me to keep doing this work, and I'm going to try to continue without crying.
Yeah, no, I
But-
know.
but,
It is depressing.
It
Yeah.
is. It is very emotional and it's very poignant. And right now, none of us have a friend that is not sick with something.
Yeah.
None of us have a friend that is not suffering from immunity problems. It's a disruptor in the body in so many areas. And I think you are almost lucky that you're one of those that are not experiencing that right now, even if you are a smart consumer, even if you are reading all the things that you put out on your Instagram posts and in your books. We have to navigate. There's so much information that especially a mom can
Yeah.
handle.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got children, she's got a family. She's got
job.
She's got a
Everything.
job. I mean,
Everything.
yeah. I mean, I'm reading your book as if it relates to me because it does, and it relates to all three of us. But these young kids, they have got to have a better chance,
Yeah.
and our government's doing nothing to help them.
No.
And you are.
Well, yeah, and that's why I had to write this book, Food Babe Family, because I believe that everybody should have this information at their fingertips. And I wanted parents to feel empowered when they want to take responsibility and start teaching their kids the truth about food and know that they're not alone, that they're
Right.
not the only kids, bringing their own lunch to school because they want to avoid some of the chemicals that are in school lunch, or if they're not the only kid that's bringing their own snack to soccer practice because they're giving away goldfish and
Yeah.
Gatorade to
Yeah.
everybody, right? And so I wanted to create lists and different types of spreadsheets of things that
Yeah.
that help parents. Like I made a list of 100 snacks better than goldfish, so
Right.
that
Right.
parents don't feel like they always have to go to the goldfish, right? And
Right.
the reason why I'm so crazy about goldfish is because they're
All right.
putting
Cycle.
MSG like additives to literally hijack your brain
Yep.
and your taste buds for you to remember that flavor and to eat more than you should. So you
Right.
eat one and then you eat the next one and then you finish the whole bag. And so
Exactly.
it's just, it's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that a lot of this is our fault. I don't think picky eating in children is our fault. I really do believe it's the food industry that's created these chemicals that hijack your brain.
Right.
Because let's just think about it.
Right.
When you eat a bag of goldfish, it's the same thing every single time. When you have a blueberry, real food,
Yeah.
sometimes it's sweet, sometimes
Sometimes
it's
it's
sour.
tart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's juicy, sometimes it's mealy, whatever, right?
Right.
And if you're not exposing your child to that variety of real food diet, and you're relying on any of the packaged processed things out there, it's constantly tricking your child into thinking, oh, well, I don't want any of that real food because I know what I'm going to expect with this.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's so true.
How are you going to do this? So, I really liked your example when your daughter went to school, was it preschool, whatever, and they were selling Domino's pizza. And you said, nope. And that was hard because you're like, new mom, I'm going to raise my hand. Would you consider another one? And they went, no, the price is really good. But you went to Pure Pizza right here in Charlotte. And they went, I'll match that price.
Yeah.
I mean, all you got to do, no, that's not all you got to do. First of all, it takes courage.
Exactly.
Which you have plenty of. And not everybody has that courage. So what can these moms do?
Well, I got to tell you something that happened about that pizza situation that I'm actually, you guys are going to be like one of the first people to break it. So I'm just going to let you know. So at the beginning of this school year, the headmaster stopped me and told me they're switching back to Domino's.
Why?
Yeah. 3 weeks before this book came
Jesus Christ.
out. 3 weeks before this book
After you sung their praises, where you didn't name the school, but you sung the praises.
Yeah, I kept the school private because of our own privacy.
Sure.
But yeah, and the reason is that, I'm still working on it. I haven't given up. There's still 28 more Pizza Fridays at my daughter's school, so I'm still working on it. But it's really disheartening what happened. I mean, it totally threw me off track, but it reminded me of these couple things. And here's the silver lining. I could go into all the details, but I think this is the important part that I really want to cover because wow, did I learn a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about my daughter, and I learned a lot about parenting in that moment. When this was all going down, I was doing whatever I could. I mean, I had Pure Pizza on speed dial 5 seconds after, I heard about this and was like, what is going on? What happened? Right?
Yeah.
And trying to solve all the issues. I came to the headmaster with all the solutions. She was just very adamant about her decision, and so she's keeping her decision. I don't know. Maybe after this week, she might change her mind.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. Every podcast talking about
secretly,
this.
you tell us who it is, and we'll go over there. I'll go over there.
The Army.
One of the most amazing things that happened during that whole period, and the letter's actually in Food Babe Family, a pediatrician wrote to the school.
Oh, okay.
A local pediatrician who Dr. Anna Maria Temple.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She's a client.
Yeah.
She actually does this online. I talked to her the other night.
She does it all the time.
Hi, Anna.
She has a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
And I know I'm always trying to get her to come to the studio.
Yes.
She's like, oh, I'm doing it remote.
Yeah.
So,
good.
she wrote a letter to the school. But anyway, so I've realized that since that moment, one of the things that the first thing I thought about was first, like my daughter, what's she going to think? Is she going to feel left out? Like what's going to happen now on Pizza Fridays? And we're at a school where everybody makes a lunch every single day, except for Fridays when there's Pizza Friday. And some people still make a little lunch. They bring fruit or something else too in their lunchbox. And so parents are used to making lunches. So I said to Harley, I said, hey, and she's been part of this conversation since day one.
Right.
So she's known the whole
She's pretty
saga.
savvy. Right.
Right. She's known that this is something I wanted to change when I saw the Domino's pizza box. It's like she knows all that's been going on. So when I didn't even have to explain to her what Domino's was, which if you're listening to this, what Domino's is a lot of genetically engineered ingredients. One of them that is in the oil, phase oil, used with genetically engineered soybean oil, doused with Roundup and glyphosate that cause cancer, but then also this chemical called TBHQ that affects the immune system, especially of children.
Oh, God.
So this is something that you don't want kids eating every single Friday, 30 Fridays out of the year, right? This is a little too much for their little bodies to handle.
Right.
So this is why I was so adamant about changing it. And there's lots of pizza chains out there, not just Pure Pizza, that are doing the right thing. So there's a lot of options now, which is so awesome. But anyways, I went to her. She was in the bath, and I just casually mentioned to her, and I said, hey, how would you feel if your school changed to Domino's Pizza? Just gauging the situation. I mean, she's 6.5, right?
Right.
She's 6.5. Let's see what's going on. And she goes, Mom, can't... She kind of rolled her eyes and she goes, can't you just make my pizza? I'd like black olives, green peppers, and red peppers, please. And I was like, yeah, I can make your pizza on Fridays.
Wow.
And I was like, she's like, yeah, okay, thanks.
We're good.
And I was like, is it really that easy? Like,
Right.
did I just, I mean, like, and this is what happens when you teach your kids from the start about
Yes.
real food and
Yes.
healthy food, and you tell them about these brands that are poisoning us,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, this is cool. And so the first Pizza Friday rolled around this year, and I made her pizza. I put in this little warming pouch. I even sent a letter to all the parents to let them know that if their child chooses not to eat Domino's, they're not going to be the only one.
Oh.
And I just wanted everyone to know. And I like slipped in a little information
Sure,
about
sure.
Domino's. And then
Is this the Yokomat one?
No, that was Subway.
That's
was Subway.
That's
Okay,
Subway.
sorry.
And we'll get
to that later.
And I sent them a little link to the warming pouch I use on Amazon so that they could, if they want to get the warming pouch, they have it available. It's cool because it has these little cherry pits you stick in the microwave, and they keep it. The pizza stays hot until lunch.
I love it.
And so I make the pizza that morning, and then I pick her up from school. I said, Harley, I'm just like dying to know how Pizza Friday went.
Right.
And I'm like, how was Pizza Friday? And she's like, oh, it was so good. And I go, oh, really? I was like, was it better than pure pizza? And she's like, yes. And I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, we
work
got a new
is
job
done.
in food, babe.
My work's done.
Yeah.
I will make pizza for the whole school.
Yes.
If this is the kind of reaction
Yes.
that I'm getting from my homemade organic pizza. at
That's
home.
amazing.
Yes.
That's
Wow.
amazing. And I want to talk about that for a second about, going back to the death threats a little bit. Like, I understand how corporations feel attacked and it's about the bottom line, right? But I don't think you're trying to take down corporations. You're trying to fix their products,
Yes,
right? I mean,
yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
there's more to it than that. But in general, I mean, you're saying, okay, Domino's, like, be a company, but make a pure pizza. Like, take the shit out
Yeah.
and make a product that we can all stand behind, and then we'd stand behind your company. I mean, is that accurate? Or
Yeah, no, it's accurate. And the type of comments and death threats and all of the harassment that I was getting was being paid for
Right,
by
right.
the chemical associations and all of the people that, they're contributors or all of these big companies
Sure.
that make the chemicals,
Okay,
right? And
okay.
so they created a system called Leave No Comment Left Behind. So anytime I was talked
Whoa.
about
Wow.
Yes.
Whoa.
It was dismantled now that the New York Times found out about it and wrote about it, but it's been dismantled. But so it's not the case anymore. But anytime I was written about online,
Okay.
there would automatically be like 10 negative comments. Boom. So it would start to persuade
Sure.
a normal person like you or anyone coming to this article and being like, oh, well, maybe she's a quack. Maybe she's pseudoscientific.
Yeah, like maybe we're doing fear mongering.
Right. Maybe it's okay.
Maybe she's an
I should
extremist.
just,
Yeah.
she's an extremist.
Yeah.
Domino's is fine for my child. I'll
Yeah.
just keep feeding them that.
You know what? And that
Okay.
perception
Okay.
was out. And I know that hurt. That had to hurt.
Oh, it
That
was
had to be
awful.
daggers.
I mean, every
Yeah.
time I went to go speak at a university or
Yeah.
anywhere that I was invited, there would be situations that were completely out of my control that I was freaking out to the point where I had to have security come with me and escort me. They would take over the websites of these universities where they would sell the tickets to my event, and they would pretend to buy tickets so that
wow.
the whole
So nobody was
stadium would
there.
be empty. Right. And so luckily
So this is dismantled, right?
Oh
This-
yeah, it is.
okay,
It is.
wow.
But thankfully, none of that stuff actually occurred. They figured it out before and spoke out about it, which was so great. And I had so much real support that I was able to
move past
weather
that.
past that time. But man, did it mess with my psyche?
Sure.
And this is, by the way, this is happening right after you read that accolade of Time Magazine named you one of the most influential people on the internet. When that happened, the food industry was like, hell no. This kind of stuff is not, we are not putting this girl on a pedestal. We need to bring her down.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 minutes later, after that article came out, it was like a thing on Gawker, Food Babe is full of shit. And it went viral, right?
Wow.
And it was written by, let's just talk about who it was written
Yeah.
by.
Who?
Written by a woman who worked for one of the worst pesticide companies in the world, so bad that the EPA deregulated the pesticide here in America, but they stayed in business to sell those chemicals overseas to countries that don't have the regulations.
Holy cow. Holy cow. How did this culture come about? I mean, how did this okayness with all these chemicals come about? Yeah. And I know why, because they're cheaper and a company can go, hey, there's the bottom line. We can get, but how did these are chemicals. They have to be made from whatever, petroleum or something.
Yeah.
So I guess they just through the years made enough of them cheaper. It blows my mind though that the food industry would even consider this in the first place.
Well, everything is money, right?
Yep.
And so when I think about like one of the worst oils in our food that even exists today, and then like certain companies all over Charlotte use, and like it kills me. Like there's one oil, cottonseed oil,
Yep.
which is just a byproduct of the cottonseed industry. It's a textile industry, so it's regulated totally different than food. So they're putting way worse pesticides on cottonseed oil.
Right.
It's genetically engineered
I
to
don't get
withstand
oil out of cotton.
Well, it's
Sorry.
it's a plant, and it's just like olive
got
oil,
the
right?
seed.
It's got the seed in there, and so in order to get it out, they have to use these crazy chemical solvents called hexane,
Yep.
Yes.
and that residue remains in the oil, and the FDA doesn't regulate the remainder, so we have no idea how much we're actually consuming, and it's been processed to hell to the point where your body doesn't even know what to
it
do
is.
with it, right? But the majority of things that are being fried, if you go out and eat fried food, it's in cottonseed oil, most likely, because it's the cheapest oil to buy. And it's something that shouldn't even be food, but it's a byproduct of an industry that they figured out, hey, we can just use it to do this. And thankfully, when you learn this information, you can make better choices.
You can make better choices,
And-
but how do we, without becoming you?
Crazy.
No, not crazy. I mean, this is your, I've always said you find your passion and that's your mission in life, and that's where you excel, and that's where you've excelled. Some of us do not have that. What do we do? Not me. I'm really trying to speak for the moms and dads and people that are just trying to make ends meet. I mean,
I get asked that question a lot, Liz, and I don't have the answer. What I use my voice for is to let people know there's another way.
okay.
And if they want to see the other way, I have all the resources. I
Right,
have 4 books now.
Right.
And I have all of the information. I have the pantry list. I have the products that you should buy. I have all the great snacks that you can have in your backpack and ready to go when your kids are super hungry. You don't have to worry about all of the sweet, yucky stuff that's available at like normal stores. Like there's a way you can like stock your pantry in a way that like you can set yourself up for success. And then what to do when you go to a birthday party, and what to do when you're
In the book.
traveling, right?
Yes.
And
I like your list where you've got an absolutely do not do list. And then you're kind of going, and then this is not the worst thing, but if you had to have it, here's your list.
She plays the grandmother game.
Grandchildren.
She plays the grandmother
No,
game.
no.
No, this is important. I think it's a really
let's
good
call
point.
each other out right now.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm
I'm a grandmother, so I
Go
put
ahead.
bullshit in my.
Why?
I didn't know that was as bad as it was. I learned. I'm like, now I'm going, oh, time to empty out my kids' drawer. My kids' drawer is full of chemicals and poisons.
Well, let me help you. I will
Yeah.
help you stock
Okay,
that with the right
thank
stuff.
you.
I'll just
I mean,
send you an
But
Amazon order.
by the way, it wasn't out of complete ignorance. It was more about being the grandmother and
That's
being
what I'm
the
saying.
only one, when they come over to my house, to their Dee Dee's house, then hey, it's okay. But I'm not going to do that,
me
especially
tell
to
you
a grandson that's been sick.
Right.
Yeah,
Not
I
gonna do it.
understand.
Not gonna do it.
I know, and that's really tough.
Yeah.
My mom, has been through the ringer with me because she knows not to give anything weird to my kids.
Right,
But she's got those organic lollipops right there. My kids, at least my 6.5-year-old knows what they are, and she's like, "Mom,
Here
going
we
to
go.
grandma's house. I'm getting one of those Trader Joe's, lollipops."
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
So you've got options. I just need to get deeper into the book. Okay.
Right.
I know where the lists are. That's how beautiful the book is, because it's written in lists. And those of us that are going, I just need to see an answer right now. It's right there.
Yes.
It's right there.
That's what's so helpful. It's like, that's great to share the problem, but to give the solutions, I think is the answer, because we are all afraid and frizzled and don't know what to do, and we're harried and hurried and working on financial budgets, and I think you're making it so accessible for
and the
everybody.
example of your power in speaking to these large corporations. It's a ballsy move, by the way. I mean, you're Vani Hari. You started out with just your name, Vani Hari. You were not the food babe. And you went, excuse me, this isn't going to work for me. And by the way, it's not working for anybody else. That took a lot of guts. I think that's an inspiration to the people that are listening to you even speak right now, or reading your books, to go, well, I may not have the wherewithal or the financial resources, but I have a voice, and people can use their voices.
Oh, they can. And that's what has been so amazing to watch is the community out there. They can sign
Right.
petitions. They can share this information on social media. That's how this all got started with social media, right? And
Right.
the funny thing is I look back, and before I joined Facebook back then, I was scared to, because I thought, oh, I didn't want to be on social media and let everyone see my personal life. And like, I joined it so that I could share my blog. And then I realized how it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And so with there's all kinds of plights, with social media in terms
Sure.
of, there's all kinds of downsides, but there's so many upsides
Right.
too, because now I've realized there's a community out there that not only care about their own health, they care enough about other people's health,
Yeah.
the people who can't afford to figure this stuff out because they're just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
So when we're making products better, taking out the artificial food dyes out of mac and cheese, or removing the artificial chemicals in Subway bread, or getting Papa John's pizza to remove, 16 different chemicals from their pizza, or Starbucks taking out caramel color out of the pumpkin
Right.
spice latte, or even getting like beer manufacturers to release the
Yeah.
ingredients on beer for the first time in history. Like those type
That
of
was really
moves
impressive.
are thank you.
I was
That was the
impressed.
scariest.
That was impressive.
That was the scariest.
Tell them what that was. That was
yeah, yeah.
Budweiser, right?
Well, Budweiser and Miller Coors. So
Right.
I was so scared out of my mind before I started this petition, because I'd been in the food space, but then I was like taking on beer, and I'm not even a beer drinker.
Right. Right.
But it killed me because I'd opened the fridge, and the only thing I didn't know what was in it was like my husband's Newcastle beer. And back then Newcastle was like really hot. And so it was just like everyone's drinking Newcastle. I'm like, what makes it brown? Like, is it the hops? Like, what is this thing?
And
right?
only food they would go,
Like, what is this? Right.
Right,
And so,
right.
like, I couldn't find out the information. So it killed
Wow.
me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm petitioning two of the largest. And at that point, they were separate companies. And the two largest beer companies in the world, pit them against each other. I'm like, well, one of them has to give up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was amazing.
And
Who's gonna scream
Anheuser-Busch,
mercy?
within 48 hours of
That's what I
starting that
thought.
petition, called me, said, we're going to release our ingredients, and we want to invite your whole family to the headquarters, and we're going to talk
Wow.
about things. And I told them at that meeting, it was so awesome. Like, they really rolled out the red carpet
That's
for us
amazing.
in St. Louis, Missouri. They were like, we're sitting at the board meeting, we're taste testing all these beers. I'm kind of like, because I just don't like. I'm not a
You get
beer
a little
drinker.
buzz while
Yeah.
you're there.
Well, my whole family was like wiped out, and it was my in-laws. So it's like they are all huge beer
Yes.
drinkers, and so I mean, if I brought my parents, they would be like, what's going on? No, but it was
That's
Finley
funny.
and his dad.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know
I've
his
met
dad.
his-
Yes.
Can
And-
you see him in here?
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, that's my daughter-in-law. Could I have one more?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it was quite a sight. But I remember going, you guys, we need an organic beer. This is a revolution. We want an organic beer. We're like, well, we tried it several years ago. You can see it on our wall here. Da 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 da. It just didn't take off. I go, try it again.
Try it again.
And guess what?
They did.
They did, and it was advertised during the Super Bowl.
I remember that. I lost my mind.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
like,
the coolest thing. I was like, oh my gosh, people were texting me. They're like, look, did you see what happened? I was like, yeah, I know. I was at that.
That is so impressive. You were
amazing.
so impressive.
So
Does that feel like your biggest win? I mean, I know they are all huge wins, but if you look back at who you took down, made the biggest change, is that one of the most
I'll tell you my biggest
significant?
change.
Okay.
My 7-year-old, who's 7 years older than me, my brother,
Ooh.
yeah,
Really?
who did not want to listen to a lick of what I was saying for so long.
Oh,
But it took
wow.
all of these wins and me being on the front of
Yeah.
newspapers to saying, well, maybe she's got a point here. And all his friends going,
Family.
Your sister's the food babe. And like, everyone paying it and say, hey, can I meet your sister? And like, he's like, well, what's going on here? And like, and so
I've
he's
not
like,
met your brother. I don't
oh,
think.
yeah, well, yeah. So but he started to make changes, and he's my biggest,
Oh.
I would say he's my biggest accomplishment.
That's
that is
so special.
really
That's really cool.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I love
Yeah.
that.
No, I do.
Yeah.
I do too.
All right, talk to us about some tips. So, don't you have like the 10 like worst things we need to avoid in the
Yes,
new book?
the terrible 10.
Terrible
for
10.
kids.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I go through the terrible 10, and I would say if you reduce it to this one ingredient, and this is really bold to say this, and I've been called lots of names before, and so I'm okay with it. But I would say if you avoid this one ingredient at the grocery store,
Okay.
you're going to avoid the other 9.
Got it.
Oh, good.
So
Great,
which
great,
one
great.
should you look out for? You should look for natural flavor.
Mm.
So natural flavor is being added to every single, it feels like, processed food out there. And it's in probably 85% of packaged processed goods right now. And it's the chemical that makes food taste good that normally wouldn't taste good because it's dead inside.
Got it.
It's not real food.
Got it.
It's made up of enriched flours and sugar and refined sugar and different seed oils and other chemicals and preservatives. And so they have to figure out how to make something taste really awesome. And so what they do is they create the 1 millionth best part of a taste. If they're making a blueberry Nutri-Grain bar, they're figuring out the best 1 millionth part of that blueberry, putting it in the Nutri-Grain bar, which is actually made with more apples than blueberries. And I don't even think it has blueberries. They might have switched that recently. But yeah, it used to be dyed apple pieces in there that were dyed blue. And they're figuring out how, that they trick you into thinking you're eating blueberry bars, which blueberries don't,
They're not even in it.
They're not even in it.
Right.
So they did this with Quaker Oats for years. They've just started to change that, which is great. But they used to use, strawberry and cream Quaker Oats used to have no strawberries in it, like absolutely none. It was
Natural
apple pieces
flavor.
dyed with red 40.
Wow. So natural flavor.
Yeah, and what it
let's
does
avoid
is
Number one.
it's the thing that causes picky eating. So with kids,
Right.
and it's the thing that will keep you going back for that product over and over again. So the food companies are literally hijacking your taste buds so that you remember that flavor. The reason why they love Sprite and Coca-Cola and all the other things that Grandma keeps in their,
No more. It's already gone. It's already disappeared.
is because of these chemicals. And so if you just say, I'm going to buy products without natural flavor, you're going to avoid the
Avoid
other.
the other.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
So
a good.
that's-
I think it's
an
a
easy
simple
one.
solution.
Yeah,
That's
And
a
there's
baby
so
step.
many great companies out there that are not using that flavoring. And I have the lists of
That's
great
in the book,
That's
right?
in the book.
Okay,
yes.
good.
And a lot of resources are for free on foodbabe.com if
Right.
you just want to come there and read it all. Right.
Right. Okay,
Perfect.
Good.
Okay, so that's at home cooking grocery store. Going out into the world, do you pick a good restaurant or do you grill the waiter and the chef? Like, what is our best?
We're trying not to be hated when we go to the restaurants.
I would just simply ask, what oils are you using to cook my food in? I would ask the chef to use pure olive oil or butter. Grass-fed butter is even better, but butter would be a great alternative to have instead of a seed oil. I like to go to restaurants where I know they're already using good ingredients. Like last night, I took my kids to Barcelona.
Yeah.
I love Barcelona. It's tapas restaurant. A lot of olive oil is being used in everything, and it's so delicious and so clean, and it has so many plant-forward recipes in terms of you can get a lot of fruits and vegetables there, and you can have your piece of fish, your mahi or whatever, or your mussels or your paella, and it's all real food,
Right.
and it's so good. And my kids love eating there, and they like the variety, and
There you
I
go.
love it too. And then we go to Jenny's, of course, afterwards.
Right.
And
that
ice
is
cream.
good ice cream.
So
yeah,
good.
that is really good. I'm not sure if they're using flavoring or not, but once in a while, again, this lifestyle isn't about being perfect.
Right.
It's about
That's a good point.
trying to
knowledgeable.
avoid, being knowledgeable and trying to avoid as many chemicals as possible. And so, if you can make your house like a sanctuary of good, healthy, real food and your pantry that way, when you eat out in that time period, when you go out, your body's going to be able to handle that situation
Exactly.
and it's not going to destroy your health.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Right.
Those are great. What is your, I guess for lack of a term, your food philosophy, right? So there's so much focus on food. How do you keep that balance in your house? I mean, I have teenagers, I have a daughter, I'm in fitness, I have past eating issues. So, I'm always cognizant of that dance of the message of we're fueling our bodies. We're putting real food in our bodies. I mean, I don't know what the question is, but I just
I know
wonder
what
how
you're
that
saying.
comes up.
It's
Yeah,
hard. It's hard to have.
People, so there is kind of this situation where people are concerned that if you put too much emphasis on food or what you're eating, that you can create issues later on in life, right? And I think that's what you're kind of going.
yeah.
And it's how do you have a healthy conversation about food in your family? And I think information is so powerful when it's the truth, right?
Yep.
It's really different when you say everything's junk food, right? And that includes real food made with cupcakes, like real food cupcakes. I think that's foods you moderate. But
Yes.
real food cupcakes that you made from scratch with real pasture-raised eggs and butter and
It's
your
real
own
food.
amazing sprouted flour and all of that stuff, like that's real food.
Yeah.
Like enjoy that cupcake. So
Yeah.
at my house, we have dessert every day.
Yeah.
But it's a real food dessert that we're making from scratch, or that a company that I really love that's making good ingredients, right? And we buy that or whatever,
Yeah.
right? There's this company called Sweet Nothings. They're making those little push-up pops.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there's smoothies inside. So like the
Ooh.
mango has
Ooh.
mango, carrot, chia seeds, and dates. And then
That's
the
healthy.
I know. And then the pineapple has pineapple, spinach, dates, and chia seeds, right?
Right.
And then, and then the strawberry has beets. Like it's just
Delicious.
So it's a fruit and a vegetable. And it's
Right.
like this amazing, and it's a push-up pop and it has little character on it. And the kids think they are like
The
they're
thing.
like, whoa, mommy's letting us have these, right?
Right,
like
right,
this
right,
is a
right.
treat. And they
Yes.
run around the house and it gets everywhere. And and
Okay.
and then I get mad when they don't throw away the wrappers.
Right.
And, the whole thing.
It's real life.
Yes, it's real life. So
But I think
real life.
I think your point is right. You just tell people the truth. You
Yeah.
tell your kids,
Yeah.
you tell your little babies the truth.
Right.
And you've
Like I don't think dessert's
Yeah.
bad when it's
Yeah.
made the correct way,
Yeah.
right? But you don't eat dessert all the time. That's a food because
Right.
the sugar in it rots your teeth, and there's other things. But you tell them the truth about that,
Right.
right? And I think what caused a lot of the eating issues that we had as a society was when we were paying attention to things that didn't matter,
Yeah.
that were actually not the truth, the calories,
Yes.
the fat grams,
Right.
the carbs,
Yeah.
the eliminating whole food categories.
Yes.
I'm saying eat all food
Yes.
as long
Yes.
as it's real,
exactly.
right?
And then I think
Your
that
body
takes
knows
the
what to do with
shame element out. I mean, it just takes that off the
Yeah.
table
Right.
when we're just eating real food.
Yeah.
I mean, I generally try to, and we don't always, but try to. Anything that's packaged, I don't want it in my house. I mean, I don't want a thing that I have to rip open.
Yeah.
And I have some exceptions because when I'm in a hurry, I'll go grab some kind of popcorn that's, but
I love popcorn.
I
Which
do too.
popcorn do you buy?
the one, what's the one called? The Buddha one?
yes.
Yes.
So
That one.
good. Lesser evil.
But
Thank
my
you.
favorite
Yeah,
thing to
That's
do,
why-
really and
so
truly,
good.
So good. That,
But
yeah.
my
Pink
favorite-
Himalayan
oh my God,
salt.
I have like 5 bags in my pantry at a time.
yeah, but the best is just to put it
Pop
on the
your
stove
own.
and pop it and
Oh,
put
yeah.
some garlic and salt and goodness in it.
Yeah.
And then I can eat. I mean, it's good. It's all fiber. It's all real.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny. You told me years ago that you sit down with popcorn.
I do.
And
Almost
I
every
had to
night.
get off my nightly sugar kick after I had my second child because it was like it was just wreaking havoc on me,
Yeah.
and I had to give it up for a while. So like my two things that I sat down on the couch with after the kids went to bed were a bowl of popcorn
Yes.
Yeah.
and a big spoon of peanut butter. And I was just
Oh,
like, okay.
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Because it
'cause
gives you that.
I needed that
that
fat,
protein,
and I
yeah.
it was almost like a treat. So it was just
And-
like big spoon of peanut butter and those popcorn. And I was like, I feel satiated.
good
This
now.
is good. Yeah.
Real
I love
foods.
that.
I need something to snack on while you're watching the Golden Bachelor.
Oh my God. Do not go there. Do not go there. Yeah, we're
We
going to
will
have a
get
follow
way
up
off
on that.
track.
You've got to watch
Second
it first.
episode.
Or don't, as much as you can handle. But before
That's
we get off on that, your buddy, Sean Model, I just listened to his podcast today, and his was about the 10 foods. And a lot of them that it's you and y'all are like twins at birth that were separated.
He's my brother from another mother.
I
Oh,
know,
yeah.
and y'all are my heroes, and I get to know you. So I'm listening to him today, and he's got this 10 foods, and all 10 of them were the ones that Lee and I and you and we all eat. Olive oil was number 10. Number 1 was avocado. Most of those top 10 foods that are so healthy for you, help you metabolize all helps you with your weight and all these things, were natural fat foods.
Yeah, salmon.
Cherries, salmon, avocados,
Walnuts.
nuts.
Yeah.
All of that. Almonds. And it was like, we went through that phase where we really messed our society up when we were like fat free and we pulled that stuff off.
Yeah.
And so the
Cardboard.
correlation of eating fatty foods does not correlate with gaining fat. It correlates actually with losing fat and reducing your weight gain. And they've got, he's a scientist and he's got actual studies. You're a food science, you're an activist, and the two of you all are like, anyway, my favorite people. So, except for you.
Truth. Thank you. Oh, I made the trifecta. What do I bring to the table?
Yeah, but anyway.
That's funny. So where do you see or you probably already know, you have this whole plan. You're like Taylor Swift of the food world. Like, what's coming next?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, we want to focus on this book, right?
That's
Food
funny.
Babe Family.
Yeah,
That's what we're
so
focusing on. But
getting this book out to the world. I want every family to have this as their resource guide when they're, when they're looking for a recipe to make really, really fast. I mean, there's over 100 recipes in this cookbook, and they're
Amazing.
recipes that you can make under 30 minutes. So like
Awesome.
when you're really just like, oh gosh, you got home really late and the kids are starving, like what to feed them first. Like I have all the strategies in there and how we plan out our meals so that the kids actually eat their vegetables. But I really want to get this out to the world. And then, I am also the co-founder of Truvani.
Yes.
And we're like the number one plant-based protein selling in retail right now.
Cheers
And
to that.
I
And
know-
Hilliard Studio Method is going to be carrying it as of Thursday, Lee.
let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm ready.
Yeah, she's ready. Let's go.
That's awesome. And it's just been so cool to watch. And so if you go to any natural food store, I mean, we're in Whole Foods now. We're all over the place, which is so fun to watch. But I mean, if you go to Hilliard Studio Method to work out, you need to just pick up your protein there.
Well, I'm
Perfect.
lucky. We're lucky.
Yeah.
She brought us a whole box of your bars, and we already know that they taste good. So we can't wait to have those on the shelves.
They not only taste good, but like the labor of love to create that line of bars was so intense. It took years. It started in my kitchen making bars from scratch and sending them to manufacturers and say, can you replicate this? I mean, I would get, we would get messages back. Yeah, this bar is going to be $14 a pop because of the ingredients you put in here. I'm like, but like, what are you talking about? And so like, we had to really figure this out. And every time I hit a roadblock, whether it was a food manufacturer saying, well, you really should put tapioca starch in here instead of using real maple syrup because it's going to reduce the number of sugar grams on the label and they won't even know and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
What?
No. Tapioca starch is like a very processed ingredient. It still raises your blood sugar level as maple sugar does, actually even more. And so it was just like, I was like, we're not doing any of those food industry tricks on the labels at Truvani. Like, we're going to have labels without lies. And that was one of the...
Oh, I like that hashtag. Labels without lies.
Yes.
incredible.
And so I wanted to have real food ingredients you would make in your own kitchen to make those bars. And so that's why it's called the only bar that you would find in your kitchen, right? Like the only ingredients you would find in your kitchen.
Well, I can't wait.
I love that.
I can't wait. And the whole point of the bars being there or being especially in a fitness workout like we have is when you are just worked out, your body is, it needs a little nutrition. Sometimes it's not a meal replacement, but it is a great snack that's going to have all the good nutrition, the protein. We've gone into the nutritional reasons of why we add so much protein to our diet before. You talk about a balanced diet. At Hilliard Studio Method, we're trying to fuel your body correctly while you're in the studio. It's going to be there. But then when you go home and you cook your meals, you're going to have this full information of everything you need to have right there. So, all right. Well, I feel like we have covered anything. Is there something else you'd like to say besides, there's a million things you'd like to say, I know, but I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
And I'm so honored that you're here with Lee and I today on this
Grateful.
Be Powerful podcast, because owning your own power means owning your own decisions about your health. And no matter where we are in life and no matter how much money we have or don't have, we get to own our decisions about our life. And we get to make the decision whether or not we want to get to be older and end up in the hospital, or even feed our children things that will put them in the hospital way before it's their time. I'm just here to be on your Food Babe army and to do what I can do and what we can do to continue to spread this great news of our own control, our own power over our health.
Yeah, my parents didn't have this information when they came to America. They thought, wow, this food is so fast and available and cheap and
tasty.
And my kids eat it and they're going to grow, and that's all that matters, because they grew up in a situation where there's poverty all around them. The food wasn't available like this. And so now that we live in a different age where we have this information available at our fingertips, we have these resources like my book and other books out there, and we just have the responsibility more so than any other generation to teach everyone about what's happened to the food supply, these chemicals that have invaded them, and how to break free. And we have control, and I love that message.
Right, we do. So cheers to you.
Thank you.
Cheers
Cheers
to
to
Vani,
you.
the food babe, the food
You
babe
guys,
army.
we have got it. It's right here.
Food Babe family.
Foodbabe.com. You can join her army on Facebook, Instagram. Where else are you? Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Just everywhere.
Just go to foodbabe.com or come to Hilliard Studio Method. Work out right beside her. She'll inspire you every time. Thank you guys.
Love you, Vani. Thank
Love
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to us today, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can now find our podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. If you liked it, please share, rate, and review. We love 5 stars. And we hope you'll work out with us online or in studio at HilliardStudioMethod.com.